Hey, there, it's me, Eden. If you are new to the channel, then please subscribe to my channel and visit my Patreon page for early access. Link in the comment, thanks. True to their word, Anita moved to my right side, and Nikki to my left. They both began stuffing the socks into the bra cups. Again my flesh responded to Anita's touch, and goosebumps sprang up on my arm. I was sure she would notice, but this time she said nothing. I think that'll do, she announced, looking intensely at her handiwork. Yes, me too, said Nikki, and they both stepped back to view the effect. Suddenly they both burst out laughing, and pointed at me. Oh Steve, you look wonderful with boobs, announced Anita eventually between her laughs. They suit you, they really do, added Nikki, still laughing also. Hang on, I know what else you need. With some speed, she rushed to the dinning end of the room, and started looking into her makeup bag again. She found the blusher, and immediately came back to me, opening the top of the tub as she did so. Here, she said, laughing, and rubbed some of the blusher between the bra cups. That'll give you a bit more of a cleavage. Anita giggled furiously at this. Very nice, she observed. How does it feel to have boobs, Steve? Do you like it? No, I grumbled. They've made the bra even more uncomfortable. I looked down at my chest, and the swellings they had made there. It felt uncomfortable in more ways than one. I was genuinely shocked at the impact. Well, it's worth it for the look, Nikki observed. I suppose we could have found something a bit more realistic for you, but I think with a tight top, you'll look the part. He certainly will, agreed Anita enthusiastically. Right, let's sort you out a pair of tights now. Yes, agreed Nikki. Your legs are going to look fabulous in them, Steve. I grimaced, remembering their previous compliments about my legs. I tell you what, Nikki went on, while you're doing that, Anita, I'll pop back home and find him some shoes. Oh, okay, Anita replied. Don't be too long though, you don't want to miss any of the fun. No, I certainly don't, replied Nikki. Okay, girls, see you later, she said, giggling. I'm not a girl, I mumbled darkly. Suddenly I was alone with Anita. I gazed longingly at her for a moment, reliving some of my dreams of this moment. Then I realized that I was standing there in a bra and panties, with a wig on, and fully made up. Now was not the time to make a move. Anita seemed oblivious to all of this. She won't be long, she noted, as if I was worried that she might be. Come on, let's get your tights on, shall we? I suppose you've never worn tights before either? No, I replied. Well, don't worry, I'll help you, she offered. She went back over to the bag of clothes, and fished out a new packet of tights. New? I observed. Well, yes, she answered, obviously a little flustered by the question. I noticed she blushed slightly. I bought them for you yesterday. I didn't think it would be fair just to give you an old pair of mine. Well, it would have been all right. Yes, but you deserve something a bit better. She began opening the packet, and I could see she was still blushing. Well, thanks, I said. Thanks for what? Well, for bothering to buy me a new pair of tights. I'll give you the money if you want. No, that's all right. I was on a high. Anita had actually bought me a present, even if it was a pair of girls' tights. Perhaps she really did like me. She had got the tights out of the packet, and was unraveling them from the cardboard. They were black, and quite thick from what I could see. The thing you have to do first is get hold of the toes, she explained, putting her hand down one of the legs, and easing the material upwards. You have to handle them fairly gently, otherwise they ladder. I thought that I would handle them as gently as the most precious treasure, seeing as she had bought them for me. Right, here we are, she announced, having reached the end of the leg. We're ready to start. She looked up at me and bit her lip nervously. You'd better sit down for this. Let's go up to the dining table again. I followed her up the room and sat on the same chair where I had had my makeup done. She knelt down in front of me and I smelt her perfume. Right, what you do first, she said, explaining to me as she did so, is slip the foot over your own. Like this. Suddenly my foot was encased in the tights, and looking down at it, it looked exactly like a girl's foot. I shuddered. And now we do the same with the other foot, Anita continued, sliding her arm down the other leg of the tights. She adeptly found the foot of the tights, and slipped this over my other foot. You've got nice dainty feet, she observed, causing me to cringe. Right, now we have to get them up for you. Sitting by my feet, she gently raised the tights up my calves, and up to my knee. I was astonished as my legs immediately turned from their normal boring look to something quite glamorous in an instant. The black nylon glimmered a little in the artificial light, reflecting it as sparkles. Well, that's good, Anita observed. You can't see any hair through them. Not that you've got hairy legs, of course, but it can be a problem. I wondered if we'd have to shave them. Shave them? I said, stunned. Yes, she replied. I thought we might have to shave your legs to get the right look, but it's no problem. They look gorgeous anyway. I didn't know what to think. This was a compliment again, but not one that I would have looked for. My mind was anyway distracted by the feel on Anita's hands on my legs. You'd best stand up now, she suggested. It'd be easier. I did as she asked, and felt pretty awkward with the tights around my knees. Right, now the next bit is the tricky part. We have to get them right the way up. The best way to do it, she said, bending down again, is to pull them up a bit on each side. Like this. She proceeded to demonstrate, and I twitched involuntarily as she touched my knee. She pulled the right hand side some way up my leg and then moved over to the left. Now we do the same to the other side. You have to make sure you gather up all the slack as you do it. They're called tights, not baggies after all. Right, I mumbled dreamily. Her hands gathered the tights on the other side, and pulled them gently but firmly a fair way up my thigh. Then she stopped. You'd better do the rest, she said, not looking at me, but at my legs. It could get a bit, well, personal, I suppose. Me? Yes, you were watching what I was doing, weren't you? Yes, of course. All right. I'll try. With my mind temporarily off of Anita, I felt the tights clinging to my legs. They felt odd and slightly cold. Like this? I asked, grabbing the top of the tights on my right leg. No, she responded. You let them out from under the waistband, don't just snatch at them. Sorry. I responded, and gingerly pulled the tights further up my thigh until they were level with the other leg. Higher, Anita encouraged, until you can feel the resistance. I managed to get them a further 5 or 6 inches up, but they were still a good distance from the top of my leg. Okay, try the other side now. Again I did as I was asked, and felt Anita's eyes on my legs as I did so. The tights lifted higher, and then became virtually impossible to move. Now back to the other side, she commanded. It was getting really difficult now, and I could only move the leg a further inch or so upwards. I was reluctant to pull any harder and ruin my first gift from Anita. I lifted the left leg a further inch or so before it too stuck. That's about as high as they'll go, I offered. Nonsense, she snapped. You have to get them all the way up, you can't leave them like that, they'll look ridiculous. And they'll be uncomfortable. I sighed and immediately wished I hadn't, as the bra bit into my ribs, holding them in. I tried again and again, inching the tights upwards slowly until they were at the thickest part of my thigh. "Are you sure these are the right size, Anita?" I asked. "They're all the same size," she responded. "They fit my legs all right, and they're much fatter than yours." I couldn't imagine that Anita's legs were in any way fat. Sighing again, the bra constrained the expansion of my ribs. I returned to the task. Suddenly I made great progress on the right side, as my thighs thinned down. "That's it." "Brilliant," said Anita encouragingly. "Now do the same on the other side, and we're nearly there." The right side responded well to my gentle persuasion, and the waistband was now up to my hips. I felt some pleasure as I saw the dreadful knickers disappear under something plain and black. I let go and looked down at myself. My legs were now completely covered in black nylon, and I could feel it pulling across the flesh. They looked rather better than I would have hoped. I knew that if I had seen a girl with legs like mine, I would have fancied her something rotten. "You can't leave them like that," said Anita, with exasperation in her voice. "The gusset is hanging too low. It'll show under your skirt if you're not careful." "Gusset? What's that?" I asked. She rolled her eyes in wonder. "The bit between your legs. It's supposed to up by your fanny, not hanging in midair." "I haven't got a fanny," I said. "Well, whatever," she said dismissively. "Pull them up a bit more. Go on." I did as I was asked, and the tights slipped into place between my legs. I noticed glumly that they pressed my beloved manhood even tighter out of sight. Anita stood up and looked me over. It felt exciting, but a little threatening, as she circled me. "You really have got wonderful legs, Steve. Any girl would give her eye teeth for legs like that, you know." I shrugged. "Do they feel all right?" "My legs? No, the tights, silly." I thought for a moment. "Well, they feel a bit strange. I'm more used to wearing trousers." I tried moving a little and found them strangely easy to walk in. "I expect I'll get used to them." "Yes," Anita responded. "But we need to think about how to make sure they don't ride down too much when you move." She walked around me again. "They're slipping a bit already. It's because you've got narrow hips and a small bum." She held her chin in her hand for a moment, and then suddenly her face showed a revelation. "I know," she exclaimed. "Hang on, where are they?" She looked around the room for a moment, and then snatched hold of one of the discarded pairs of knickers. "Put these on over the top. That'll do the trick." She held out to me the knickers with the flowers on that I had tried on first. I did not take them. "Another pair?" I said incredulously. "Surely I don't have to wear another pair of knickers?" "Yes, you do," she exclaimed. "They'll hold your tights up better. Go on, put them on." I hesitated. This seemed all wrong. Wearing one pair of girls' knickers had been a painful enough experience. Wearing a second pair was beyond belief. "Come on, Steve. Quickly, before your tights slip down any more." There was urgency in Anita's voice. Reluctantly I took hold of the knickers, and, pulling a face, stepped into them and pulled them up. "Pull them up as tight as you can," Anita urged. I slipped the knickers into place and made a token effort to pull them higher. "That won't do," she gasped. "I'll show you." To my surprise, Anita grabbed hold of the two side strings of the knickers and pulled them upwards. I gasped as they pulled even tighter into my groin. "That's better," she declared. "That should keep your tights up if nothing else." Anita was still standing desperately close to me. I could feel her breath hot and damp against my skin. "Oh gosh, look," she said, backing away a little. Our boobs were kissing each other. She was right, until she backed away, her generous breasts and my bra had been touching. I stared into her eyes, which had a mischievous glint to them. "They must like each other," she declared. Please subscribe for the next part. And visit my Patreon page for early access.